Hello, everyone, and welcome to Painless Universal, a conversation with myself and Welsh. Today's guest is Toyin Adesola. She's a sickle cell warrior, someone who's, overcome so much challenges of living with chronic illness pain. But she's never let that stop her. She's all the way in Nigeria, and she keeps fighting, not just for herself, but for other people who are going through similar circumstances like her. She's 55, and the way she decided to celebrate her birthday was to, help out 55 other people who are suffering in a similar position like she was. And she is actually. She's an amazing woman. She's an advocate. She's a writer. She's so much more. And she has never let sickle cell define her. Meet amazing Toyin. Well, hello everyone, and welcome again to Painless Universal, conversation with myself and Welsh. As I previously said in my introduction, I'm so excited to talk to Toyin. She's a fellow sickle cell warrior like myself, and what inspires me is that with all her challenges she's had over the years, she's never let that hold her back in no way, no shape, no form. Toyin Adesola, thank you so much for joining me. How are you?
I'm fine. Thank you for having me. It's great to be able to chat with you.
Oh no, absolutely. I know I saw you, and what really inspired me about you. You're turning 55, and it was
Yeah.
an age I never thought people with sickle cell could get to. I mean, there's so many others out there that are over 55, that go into 60s, 70s, 80s. And this is not something we ever thought would happen. And you are turning 55.
Yeah.
I'm really excited about that. But before we get into all of that, story, you're based in Nigeria. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yes. Okay. Toyin Adesola. I'm a health coach, impact strategist, and an author of 2 books. And basically, I also run a nonprofit called Sickle Cell Advocacy and Management Initiative. We've been doing that for about 10 years, creating awareness, providing support, and free medical care for people with sickle cell. And growing up was pretty challenging. At about 4 years old, I started noticing the difference of, hospital. I used to say that hospital was like my second home, because every 2 months I'll be in hospital. Either I'm having blood transfusion or IV fluids and everything. And I just remember those beds with high cut wires and trying to get out of it. It was like a prison. Now, why am I here with all these things choked up? And the challenge with me is that up till today and back then, getting my veins was really difficult. So I was punctured in several ways, and when you're small, you really go through a lot, trying to understand what's happening, grappling what's happening with you, especially when you see your other colleagues and friends going around playing, doing other things, and then half of the time you're in the hospital. In fact, I used to joke about it in primary school. I used to be last or second to last in position, not because I wasn't intelligent, but because half of the time I was not in school. So trying to catch up with what was going on was pretty challenging, and as I grew up, I started to learn more about myself. I started to learn a bit about the disorder. Both my parents were medical people, and back in 1965, things were not really known about sickle cell. In fact, it's one doctor in the hospital they put me in that finally figured I had sickle cell anemia. And so my parents, being medical people, they were pretty protective. So a lot of things they were trying to stop me from doing because they were afraid that I would get sick and all that. So I had to just grapple with that. I was looking at, as I turned 55, I looked at an old picture or some old pictures of myself, and I looked at this little puny person, and I really looked at the eyes of that person, and I realized, wow, in those eyes, I looked sad. I probably was. I looked at one with a birthday party with my sister. I still had that sad face. There's one we took with a nanny. I still had that sad face, and I was like, wow, if only that little girl knew that things were going to be all right, that things wouldn't be as bad. Yes, we may have challenges, but things wouldn't be as bad as it was. Because I definitely, like you said, I went through a lot. In fact, I said I've had 80% of all the complications a person with sickle cell can have. Because as I was growing up, I had leg ulcers, I had avascular necrosis, I had gallstones, I can't, there's so many issues. I had to be using crutches for a long while. Then about 2 years ago, a shocker came and they said I had a vascular necrosis on the shoulder apart from the hip. And I had to start using wheelchair, and not only normal wheelchair, I had to use electric wheelchair because if I use my hands to wheel the chair, it will still affect my shoulder. So it was really challenging. I must say, even in the challenge, I was the type of person who insisted I wanted to do something. My parents were so protective that when I fell ill in Form 2, um, I got admitted in hospital and I was given the wrong blood, which affected me. I had infections, septicemia, and I think that affected my hip. And one day I was turning on the bed and I was crying and I'm telling the nurse that, look, I'm in pain. I don't know what's happening with me. And she said, oh, just take Panadol. And I was crying throughout the day. And my father turned up, what's happening? I told him, they rushed me to the radiologist, took an x-ray and found out my hip got dislocated and they had to fix it. And I was in a POP like a trousers. Imagine your trousers being a POP. You can't move. There's no way. I was in bed for 6 months. In that lying down, I couldn't sit. I couldn't do anything. I couldn't go downstairs. I could hear my sister and friends chattering away. So I sort of basically found solace in reading and listening to the radio, because back then TV was like an evening thing. It wasn't, you don't have 24 hours TV, so we just have to wait till evening to be able to watch TV. And on top of it, there wasn't a TV in my room. There was just one main TV in the sitting room, so I had to find solace in listening to radio, reading so many books. In fact, people used to joke that I know so much and I've never traveled before. But I try to use those to be able to empower my mind, which is what I always tell warriors, that the mind is the most powerful tool you can ever imagine. Once you can empower and increase that positivity in your mind, and you can able to overcome things. Yes, depression and issues will come, but the most important thing is to make your mind strong, because if it's not strong, there are times you want to give up, and once you give up mentally, you give up spiritually, and then you give up physically. So it's been a challenge. I when I had that issue, I had to quit Form 2 and stay at home. I stayed at home for about 3 years. And my friends were going into university. So by the time my friends got out of university, I was still at home. I started doing things with my hands and just trying to occupy myself. But one day I just told my parents, I want to go into university. This is not what my life is meant to be sitting at home, doing crochet, doing handcraft. I love it, but that's not me. So I did a crash course, what people do in 3 years. I did it in 1 year, did the WIEC, did the JAM, and I got into Lagos State University to study economics. And that became another journey of trying to manage in a society where it's not, disability access is not available.
Yeah.
So it was really difficult. And for me, going into university, I had to struggle with attending classes and stuff like that. And my university was a bit far. My parents didn't want me to do dormitory or anything like that. They wanted me to come from home. So it was pretty challenging trying to manage. But I made sure I made friends. I always tell people, find people who support you through your journey. It's very important because they're the ones who keep you strong. They're the ones who apart from your faith in God, of course, but those people are the ones who encourage you when things are down. And those are the people who encourage me in university, helped me along the way. I basically had multiple crises. Of course, when the exam comes, emotional stress comes.
I wanted you to just give me a small synopsis, but now because I need to deep into it.
Okay.
Yeah, because it's so, your life is,
all right.
What you've just summarized, right, is unbelievable. I'm like, wow. And why it was shocking to me listening to that is that most of the things you have, It's something I've also been through myself. But
Mm,
one of the things is what one of the fascination of with sickle cell, and I want to ask you this question is that how do you deal with pain when you have a sickle cell crisis? Because this is a lot of mothers out there who are having
mm,
pain today, and their children are being
yeah,
diagnosed with sickle cell,
yeah,
and they're frightened.
yeah.
And that's why you are here to keep telling us a story, because I see you and I'm actually very inspired. How
Mm.
did you deal with pain growing up? The pain of being in school, the pain of facing those, dealing with relationship. How did you deal with those kind of pain when you were going through them?
Wow. Initially it was hard, really hard. I went to depression. I almost tried to commit suicide. I wrote it in my autobiography, and because it was basically a cry for help, I felt so isolated. And one thing I always tell parents, yes, you may provide your child with all the necessities of material necessities and stuff like that, managing, but also try and understand their emotional state. It's very important because a lot of times warriors go through a lot of emotional and mental issues, but people don't know. And if you don't find out early enough, you can go into depression. And getting out of depression is very difficult. You have to really have a strong willpower and a strong faith in God that things are going to be okay. Even with the faith in God, you still have to dig deep to understand your why this is happening, why you're here, a lot of whys. And so I always encourage parents, try and talk to your kids as they're growing up, try and share with them about their challenges, let them be able to express themselves, whether it's building friendship. Because for me, even in growing up in primary school, people had this mentality that, oh, Toy is always sick, she won't come to school today. So I never had that close friendship. It wasn't until I got into, almost got into university, that I started building that friendship. Because I always felt that people around me are more of the pity party type of thing. Oh, sorry, she's sick. Oh, sorry, oh, she can't do this, she can't do that. So that also affected me because it left me with a feeling of I'm not worth anything. I can't achieve anything. That's why I always say that when you're growing up with sickle cell, keep asking yourself your why, because your why is the one who that always keeps you going. uh, Once you find your purpose, it helps in a long way to be able to overcome the challenges. That they always joke with me that I'm a workaholic, but I find because that's what pushes my passion. So you can see me in a hospital all jigged up with IV fluids and everything, drugged out on paint or something for the pain. But my laptop is near me, and I'm like, oh, what's happening here? Have you sorted this? So that's what keeps me. So you have to find out what will keep you. It's very important to be to understand as you're growing up the challenges, finding your way around whatever is going on. Yes, the pain is there, but I always say don't let it control you. And remember, it's just for a short period of while you're ill. And when you're well again, you just bounce back and do what you're supposed to do.
But you also tell a very encouraging story about how difficult it was with being very sick, very young. How did you turn that around? When did you
Mm.
realize, okay, this is it. I need to turn that one? Was there a voice that came
Mm.
to you and said, Toyin, you're enough of being sick. We need you alive. Or what happened? Because, not a lot of people have that courage to be where you
Mm.
are right now, especially living in a country like Nigeria where the healthcare system is not always the best and you have to pay for every single thing. How have you turned that around? What did you do for all parents out there, even young people like yourself, people like myself listening? What can people do to turn that around?
Yeah, it boils down to your why. As I was growing up, I had a grandmother who was always encouraging me. She used to tell me, Tony, I'm waiting for your story, for your book. No, she would say that I'm waiting for your book. And to me, I thought she was like, okay, yes, I used to write, and she used to encourage me to write. But I thought she was like saying, oh, I'm waiting for your fiction book, or I'm waiting for any book. And one day I wrote a fiction book. I said, no, 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 this is not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about a book about your life. And at that point, I felt, what have I achieved? I was in university by then, so I sort of pushed it aside like a groaning of an old woman. She doesn't know what she's saying. And when I came out of university, I had an experience of faith with God, and I had God telling me that this is why you are here. Um, Write the book. It's important. And even then I didn't, but until one person told me, I met somebody at the shop, and I think that's what triggered it. I met somebody at a store. I was buying something, and she said, she saw me. She said, "Oh, I recognize you from this. God has been so good to you, despite everything." And when I reflected, I just realized that yes, because I've had warriors around me, friends who did not go through half of what I've gone through, and yet they passed on. So I now realize that, wow, there must be a true purpose of why I'm here. And when my grandmother died, I was like, wow, this woman never saw this book till she died. So on that day, February 14th, Valentine's Day, when she died, I made a decision to write the book. And when I wrote the book, I now found my why, because I had calls, people were inviting me to shows and all that. And then I realized, wow, there's a real issue with sickle cell and people's emotional and physical state concerning sickle cell. And when I found that turning point of, this is why I'm here, this is because I've gone through a lot more than some people with sickle cell, I can use my story to inspire people and encourage people that they can overcome this.
Wow, I'm so inspired. And I read bits of the book because you could, and I was just so inspired that you took that time out to write it because, in a country like Nigeria, where 1 in 4, person is probably born with sickle cell, you need more people like yourself to keep advocating and telling the world the essence. But what is even more important is that the suffering of sickle cell, because people underestimate it. They just see
Yes.
you look normal, you're fine. There's no way you could be sick. I've been to hospital many times, and people look at me until they actually do my blood. That's when they realize, oh my God, you are really, really sick.
Yeah.
I'm like, what do you mean I'm really, really sick? My mom will be like, what do you mean she's really, really sick? I've told you she has sickle cell. I remember a doctor until he drew my blood one time. My mom was telling me this story. And I was older, I was about 29, and they drew my blood, and my HbA was 4.9, and it was going down. The next day they drew it again. And the doctor just said to me, honestly, I have to apologize. He said to my family, my mom, because I didn't believe when you look at Anne that someone could be this sick and still look okay. How do you deal with that? How do you deal with those kind of challenges of, I look at you now, you look very well, that, because you've obviously learned to it, but when you were much younger, you still look old, well, semi-well. How did you deal with that challenge of sickle cell being an invisible illness, but it causes so much pain? How?
Yeah. Wow. It still comes back to my faith. That's the truth of matter. I can't cut corners with that, because it was my faith in God and Lord Jesus that made me just hang in there, because it was hard. There are days I struggled, there are days I wanted to give up, and I God kept reminding me of why I'm here. And the irony of it is that at the time I'm in crisis, I'll just get a phone call from somebody who is going through worse emotional state that I am. And I'm finding I'm encouraging the person, and God will just whisper to me, you see, this is why I'm still here. Because when I analyze, even my doctor, like you were talking about doctors, my personal GP, who has been with me for over 20 years, has even given up worrying about me. He says, I don't know what it is with you and God, but you go through stuff that is unbelievable. But I've come to accept that there's no stopping you, that God has really brought you here for a purpose, and that is just what keeps me. I go back to my faith. I listen to a lot of inspirational Christian music when I'm down, to inspire me to keep going on. And I surround myself with people that encourage me, because I found out that when I have people who have more sympathy than empathy and encouragement, I now start feeling that, oh, maybe uh, I'm going to die soon. Maybe things are not going to work out as I want to. Like when I give you an example, I wanted to start baking, and I ran a cake business for 15 years before I did the non-profit. And when I was starting, people were very negative, like, can you cope? Even my parents were worried. And they used to call me stubborn because I never used to listen. No, I said I was more rebellious because I felt if I didn't do that, my mindset would start to accept what they think I should be, which is very important. You should try and fight, because yes, they care about you, they worry about you, people around you. It's not that they hate you, but their mindset of what they think sickle cell should be is what they are bringing out to you. Even up to today, I still get that thing when I'm working and stuff. So you have to make a decision of yourself, understand your health, understand what triggers your crisis, and know how to pace yourself so that you can still at the same time do what you want to do, because there is nothing that is impossible, but you just have to know your body and know your capabilities, and improve your mental state. And that's what I consistently did, even when things were negative around you. So support yourself with people who will encourage you, who push you off. I had a late friend who passed on from cancer about 2 years ago. She was one of my greatest encouragers, and she's the one who pushed me. So whenever, even now, whenever I'm like, apart from I pray to God, whenever I'm down, I keep talking to her. So she's there, that what should I do in this case? And that's what really encouraged me. You should surround yourself people who believe in you, that you can achieve what you want. And I think you'll be able to overcome it. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's really amazing. I think anyone who watches this will gain so much inspiration from you. You just turned 55, or congratulations. I'm not sure when it happened, your 55
Thank you.
birthday. I'm really happy.
September 1st, actually.
Oh wow, congratulations that you've just turned 55. But you didn't want to just turn 55. You wanted to make a mark with this 55.
Mhm.
And you said that you want to help other warrior with their medical care. What
Yeah.
inspired you to take on that challenge?
Yeah, we run a free clinic with we have 600, over 600 members, and they used to come like once a month. And the whole idea, when I was growing up, I realized when I was starting the NGO, I realized a lot of warriors, because of financial status, parents don't want to take their children to hospital. So they leave it till the last minute and things are really bad. Then they are rushing around trying to find help. So I decided to start the clinic because I felt it's a bridge between them and the hospital. So that when we notice things that are wrong, we can tell them, okay, go to the hospital. If you don't have money, we'll find a way to pay for it. And so we're doing that. We've been doing that for about 5 years, I think. And I realized it wasn't enough because a lot of warriors fall sick. And then, so there's post-care, because it's one thing us helping them in the clinic, but post-care, post-clinic care, people will just still stay at home. So I decided that why don't we try and put them on health insurance, so that they don't feel pressured, the parents don't feel pressured about financial issues, and the person, even if it's a young adult, they don't feel pressured. So that's what we're trying to do, to raise the money to basically put them on HMO in Nigeria. It's still a challenge because most HMOs don't accept pre-existing conditions. So it's a struggle trying to even find that balance to be able to put a number of people on HMO. But we still want to do it, and that's what we have about 20 people now. We're trying to raise it to 50 to see how we can spread it among HMOs who will accept pre-existing conditions. I know they need a balance of people with non-pre-existing conditions to be able to take as much as they can, because let's face it, some of us go through blood exchange transfusion like I do once in a while, but blood exchange transfusion costs as high as 400K. 400,000 to a middle class family, let alone a family that barely can survive. It's high. But they go, we have a 6, she's now 8, I think. She's going through stroke. I should really this regular blood transfusion to assist with that. So that's why my passion on trying to help people, whether we through health insurance, whether we even use the money directly to pay for certain things for people. It will help go a long way in allaying the fears and then reducing the deaths, because I feel the deaths mostly are due to ignorance and mismanagement by the hospital themselves, and of course, financial issues when they cannot afford to go to the hospital. Yeah.
Wow, Toyin, that would be amazing. And what would be your hope? You're based in Nigeria. What's your hope for people with sickle cell? What would you hope for the people, the government, to do to help reduce the burden on parents?
Yeah, my hope will basically be still on this health insurance. I mean, HIV, you have drugs that are free. What stops us from packaging basic drugs to people with sickle cell on a regular basis? It's very important that we keep up with our medications. And I know quite a number of families, they stop, if not for us giving them, because we give drugs free in the clinic once a month. So they have their package every month. So if not for that, I mean, in fact, that's why a lot of we have that high number of members, because I hear when we did survey, they said, it's because, yeah, the only NGO that just gives right down to antibiotics, any drug you need, we give it to you free. Once the doctor has prescribed it, we give it to you free. So it's very important that they have this access to proper medical care. It will allay a lot of fears among people with sickle cell, and parents especially, who struggle to even manage their child. So if the government can have that in place, and then have centers where doctors are trained, because let's face it, a lot of doctors don't know about sickle cell. So they grasp here and there on trying to guess what to do, how to manage the pain. They feel that we're hypochondriacs because we come with pain a lot. And imagine a doctor telling me, oh, take Panadol, and I'm on level 9 of crisis. You're telling me Panadol. It shows you don't understand the type of pain we go through. So we need more people more doctors and medical personnel to be educated around the nation about what really sickle cell is. Because I hear that in their course, they only talk about sickle cell like a 4-hour course, and that's not enough. It should be embedded into the curriculum as a serious issue. There should be pain management involved, how to manage pain, and how to also manage sickle cell in general. Doctors today are still prescribing iron supplements because your HP is low, which is wrong for anybody with sickle cell. It's not iron tablets you need. But you still get that, and we still have to educate our warriors. So I think that should be very integral in helping and supporting families with sickle cell. And then for awareness, there should be more awareness about it. There's not enough. We NGOs are trying, but there's not enough funding. You need human resource. You need people to go into the rural areas. You need to do free genotypes. If the government says for everybody, as soon as you are born, we do, it will go a long way in helping, even in reducing issues around sickle cell. So that's it.
No, absolutely. Your book's still standing. How do everyone get a copy of it if people are interested in reading and understanding more about sickle cell?
Yes, they can log on to www.toyinadesola.com
Okay.
or www.sicklecelladvocacy.com, and they will see places where they can get the book. You can pre-order. It's on for pre-order now. So yeah, there's a hardback, or you can, if you are in the diaspora, you can go on to Amazon. It's available on Kindle, and you can have it a printed copy too on Amazon. Just look for Still Standing Toyin Adesola and you get it.
Toyin, I am superly amazed to be talking to you today. I mean, you shared you shared stories that, I mean, so many people are still bitter about sharing and not knowing how to deal with sickle cell, but you've been open about it. And I will really be supporting your organization because I love what you do. I love the work you guys do. I really can't wait to reach out to you and see how we can work together and help more sickle cell warrior. Thank you so
That would
much
be
for
great.
your time. Thank you.
Thank
And
you for having me.
I really appreciate your time, and I really can't wait to be in touch with you again soon. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.